time to tackle a surprisingly controversial Stephen King adaptation. Here are 19 reasons to watch The Lawnmower Man. Hi everyone, welcome to my channel. I'm Dave Musson, at Dave Musson on Instagram, and this is a place where I talk to you about all things Stephen King. Specifically, at the moment, we're going through the adaptations and movies based on the works of Stephen King in chronological order, and as you know from the title, we've reached 1992's The Lawnmower Man. I'm going to give you 19 reasons to check this one out in just a few moments, but first, a couple of very quick plugs. When it comes to plugs, everything you need to know is in the description. You'll find links to my newsletter, my fiction, my Stephen King quiz book, and the Constant Writers podcast, and my Letterboxd profile in there. Any support, much appreciated. But as I say, it's all in the description, so check that out if you feel like it. Right, as I said, we're in 1992. We're up to The Lawnmower Man, which is a movie based on, sort of, the short story found in Night Shift with the same name, and I'll get onto the sort of in just a few moments. But yeah, The Lawnmower Man, an interesting one. I'm going to give you 19 reasons to watch this, and as always, any reasons that might spoil a first time watch will be saved towards the end of the list and clustered behind a spoiler alert, so whether you watched it before, whether you've never watched it, you can at least watch some of these reasons and make a judgment as to whether you want to go and track it down. In terms of tracking it down, at the time of recording, it appears to be available for streaming in the UK on Shudder and on Tubi, Peacock, and frankly loads of places in the US, and it's also available to buy or rent in lots of places online as well. Search for it, you won't have to look very hard. Okay, let's rev this thing up. Here are 19 reasons to watch The Lawnmower Man. Okay, let's start with the headline takeaway reason, and that one with The Lawnmower Man is controversy. The controversy being that this movie bears so little resemblance to The Lawnmower Man's story in Night Shift that Stephen King successfully sued to have his name removed from the name of the film and from any marketing around it. That's how little it bears to the story. Now, despite that ruling, New Line just decided to ignore it, and initially, when they put it out on home video, released it as Stephen King's The Lawnmower Man, for which, in 1994, they were found in contempt of court. Good one. Now, you might be thinking, why have you started with 2 reasons not to watch this? You're supposed to be telling us reasons to watch this. Well, don't take those as reasons not to watch this. They're just interesting bits of trivia about it. If you decide not to watch this, then you miss out on both Pierce Brosnan and Jeff Fahey being shirtless at various points in this movie. And frankly, you don't want to miss out on that, do you? Now, if you change the title and take this away from anything to do with Stephen King, what you're left with is a really fun sci-fi, psychotronic, early 90s. It's got silly storylines, CGI that was groundbreaking at the time that looks terrible now, some questionable acting at points, but it's a really enjoyable watch. It's an early 90s gem. But, of course, if that were the case, I wouldn't be talking about it here on this channel. And as an adaptation of a Stephen King work, it is bad. There are literally 2 minutes of this film that bear any resemblance to the short story, and that's it. So what's the hook in this one? Well, Pierce Brosnan is a scientist who has been experimenting with AI and VR to increase intelligence. He's been doing experiments on chimps and stuff like that, but he wants to go further. So he enlists the help of a quite simple gardener named Job, who's played by Jeff Fahey, and decides to start experimenting on him, putting his theories into practice. And of course, it works. At which point, the shop become very, very interested in Jeff Fahey's character. They want to track down Job, and they want to find out what the heck is going on. Yes, you heard me right on that last point. The shop. The King entity, the shop. Presumably some kind of attempt to appease King that just fails miserably. On all counts, if you're a King fan, which you probably are because you're watching this channel, you're sitting there going, well, this is bullshit. And if you're not a King fan who doesn't know what the shop is and is just watching this film for the sake of this film, you'll be like, the shop? This is bullshit. So I mentioned them earlier, but let's come back to Jeff Fahey and Pierce Brosnan. But let's think about them fully dressed this time so we don't distract ourselves. They're both really good in this. Like, way more talent than this movie deserves. And the chemistry between them is really engrossing and engaging. They're just a great watch. And they're hunks as well.
Correct answer.
Yeah! So the CGI deserves a mention here as well, because it's often the thing that immediately springs to mind when people talk about the Lawnmower Man. It's kind of the word tennis game would be Lawnmower Man, CGI. Now at the time, as I mentioned earlier, these graphics were groundbreaking. Obviously, they look crap now. But, for me, I was 6 when this came out. I remember those early days of CGI. And to me, they still look kind of cool. Like retro and very much in the past, which is kind of a definition of retro, but you know what I mean. They've been surpassed by far greater achievements in the world of CGI since. But I still like them. Lastly, before spoilers, I don't really know what to add here. It's a terrible Stephen King adaptation, and objectively it's not that much better a film in general. But it does verge into the so bad it's good category quite often. It's a fun watch, and there's one moment where Pierce Brosnan has gone to work dressed in a jumper and shorts for a meeting. Crazy. Why would you do that? Okay, after this point, we're going to be going into reasons that might ruin a first-time watch, so consider this your spoiler alert, and if you need to bail here, you can do, but come back soon. Otherwise, stick around, because I've got a few more reasons for you to watch The Lawnmower Man right now, after that train goes past. Okay, so we've already dealt with how basically this has nothing to do with the short story, so let's just go straight into some of these crazy moments in this film, shall we? Let's start off with the spontaneously combusting priest. Hell yeah. Also, I quite enjoyed when Job is able to control his lawnmowers through the power of telekinesis. Nice. Oh, and the brain-chomping graphics? Yeah, pretty hilarious.
Lawnmower Man's in your head now, Jake.
Now actually, for all that I've mentioned how little this has to do with the story, let's shout out the little bit that is taken directly from the story, where there's a lawnmower rampaging through someone's house, trying to kill them, eventually killing them, and then there's the line about the rest of them being in the bird bath.
Bird bath. Did you say the bird bath? Bird bath.
Yeah, really good. Make a movie around that. But obviously my favourite scene is the weird computer sex scene, because, well, of course it is. As for my favourite line, well, I actually like where Pierce Brosnan asks Jeff Fahey if he wants to be smarter, because it feels very wholesome and well-meaning, but at the same time, you know everything is going to go wrong afterwards.
But you would like to be smarter, wouldn't you?
Now, can we take one of these reasons to appreciate the lushness of the hair of both male leads? They're worth it.
Oh.
I mow your lawn.
So in terms of links to other King things, well, obviously there's the short story, lol, but there are some other things as well. So Pierce Brosnan would later go on to be in Bag of Bones. Jeffrey Lewis was in the 1978 Salem's Lot. Dean Norris would later go on to be in Under the Dome. Troy Evans was in the 1994 miniseries of The Stand. And of course, there's The Shop, which seems to be funding this whole crazy operation.
I'll just find funding in the private sector, that's all.
Lastly, there's definitely a fun film here. Definitely. Just don't expect it to have anything to do with Stephen King.
I am God here.
There we go, 19 reasons to watch The Lawnmower Man. Let me know what you think of this one in the comments. Have you watched it yet? Do you care that it has nothing to do with the short story? Would you like to see one more closely linked to the short story? Is the sequel any good? All of these questions, let me know in the comments, or come over to Instagram where I'm at Dave Musson and let me know over there. Also, while we're rounding things off, check out the description for links to the Constant Writers podcast, my Stephen King quiz book, my fiction, and my newsletter, and my Letterboxd profile as well, so you can see me watch all of these Stephen King films as I go along and rank them along the way. Let's swap movie reviews. Do come back next time also, because, well, next up on our chronological list, we're dealing with a genuine classic. And by genuine, I mean not a classic at all.